Letters of John Nelson Darby, Volume 1, Letter 68F, of 1031. p. 134, from the French. Here at length, dear sister, is your turn coming, rather late, you will perhaps say, but I assure you that the letters absolutely requiring an answer are so numerous, in addition to other occupations, that I can hardly get through it, and then the consequence is, that my answers when I do write any, are so dry, that I am sorry for my friends who receive them, but I did not wish to leave yours without replying a word, and I seize a moment I have gained by dint of working. Thank God, I am very happy in my work, so that I have nothing to complain of in having work. But we have more than 300 in communion, and the responsibility of the course falls upon me, and you know something of what that is. They go on well, and confidence exists, and I hope increases, but it is just by paying attention to 1,000 little things, and by bringing them to God, that this takes place, things that no one else perhaps hears of, but if the details of them were not cared for there would be difficulties and uneasiness, and when it is done they think all goes on by itself. This is not all I desire, but there is much happiness, and I so love to devote myself to the welfare of the dear children of God, that I am encouraged in him even when painful little matters arise, as always happens. However, when there is confidence, every one looks to God, and these cases do not injure the general health, on the contrary, they become an occasion for unitedly seeking his wisdom and grace, and he helps us and blesses us with a sense of his presence. You know a great number of those who were still at Ebrington Street left it, being convinced of the bad doctrine, which indeed was dreadful, among others the principal teachers. This occupied me very happily, but in renewing bonds which had been so long interrupted. As for dear Switzerland, I am indeed rather a stranger there now. My affections are not weakened, God knows, but I am his servant, too happy in being so, and in being permitted to be so, and I have had the conviction that, for the present, France is the field for labor, not at all to prevent me from going to see our dear Swiss brethren, but as a field of work. God has brought several over there, and all I believe have felt it. This might easily change. Circumstances had somewhat decided the case for the moment, and God led me. When I felt that I should pay them a visit I did so, not knowing whether I should not be sent back from the port of Ouchy itself, and all was guarded. For the present we have been able to hold our meetings, even at the casino, a remarkable intervention of God. Now I do not know how it would be, if I thought it to be his will, I would return as before. Meanwhile I have been laboring in France. I have felt constrained to leave that country also for the moment, although doors were open on many sides, and God blessed me, and has arranged for the work being done without me, and better done I doubt not. Here I have everything to bless God for, I have seldom been able to do so much in as little time. I hope all the same soon to leave for the south, and if it is God's will, and he opens the door, it would be a great joy to me to revisit Switzerland. In these times it is doubly happy to have this precious gospel to announce to this poor world. I felt it so in our manufacturing districts, where society is really morally quite disorganized by selfishness, the masses restrained, it is true, but no bond. How happy to be able to tell them, there is one at least who loves you, and to present Jesus to them, and Jesus in all his sympathy, as a remedy for even deeper evils than luxury and the greed of gain plunge them into. What a world we are living in, if one knows something of the details, and views them with the eye of God. It is surprising what peace the thought of the return of Jesus gives, and not a selfish peace, for he will restore happiness to the world, and re-establish moral relations according to his mind, judgment will unite with righteousness, and then the goodness of God will shine forth in happiness. However, in the midst of the French Revolution, where all was disorder and alarm, I was afraid of losing in some measure the height of my expectation. I had been very happy in the thought of his coming, from the point of view of the heavenly home, united to him where he will be. When the revolution broke out, his return became rather a resource than a purely heavenly joy. I blessed God that there was such, but I feared that would lower the feeling a little, but I was very happy. The only thing I found rather troubling me, was the reports of all kinds which were filling minds, but I refused to listen to them any longer, and I never, felt how God keeps his people through everything, and that his care was independent of everything, and above everything. This did me much good. The Christian passes through the world happy, if he does so through love to the Lord, when the world is peaceful, and then there is nothing to lose, when the world is against him. But I felt deeply that not a hope, not a joy, nothing was lost if everything broke up. As for personal danger, there really was no question of that unless some unexpected circumstances arose, but as for complete ruin here below, it was never seen so near, and it is well. But one learns in all circumstances that Christ is all. What I desire is that he may be so completely everything in the secret of each day, that it may be an accomplished fact in the outward relations of life, that faith may detach, so that there is nothing to break, nothing to lose, except what God recognizes in a certain sense, our bonds with the church here below, for Christ exercises our affections in this way to make himself everything to our souls in every way, but our hearts are so dreadfully frivolous that we need it. I have been happy and blessed in writing in French on 1 Samuel since I have been here. One ever learns more, and learns it everywhere, that all is spoiled here below. Ichabod is written on the relations of God himself with the world, at least, of men with him. But then one finds that faith finds its way through all. Jonathan could act, and David could suffer, and acting with an energy that had no equal, silence it when the divine instinct of the Spirit's leading shewed him the way, and retire towards God, instead of being driven from his presence by evil, or revenging himself when an opportunity occurred. The fear of God is a very remarkable element in the power of faith in his character, and in what a touching way God came to his help in the case of Nabal. Abigail had got further into intelligence of the ways of God, it appears to me, than Jonathan. The latter is a remnant more purely Jewish. He does not suffer with David, whereas Abigail apprehended his position. Saul is only a man in her eyes, and she takes part in his, David's, sufferings. When God has judged Nabal, she has much more the character of the remnant which becomes the church. But I must stop. I am using your mind as a piece of blank paper, on which I jot down my thoughts, and it is quite possible there are better ones, but you see what a letter for a man who has no time. I have only one precious word to say to you: keep close to Jesus. You know you will find there joy, strength, and that consciousness of his love, which sustains everywhere and makes everything else become nothing. There is our life and our happiness. I am really too much of a stranger, but the circle enlarges, and the difficulty of visiting them all increases. Peace and the love of Jesus be with you, dear sister. Your affectionate brother in Christ. Plymouth, June 17, 1848. 51068 F.